In the last 3 years, over 82,000 residents have left Chicago. That's more than half the population of Naperville, and in comparison, that's like taking every single seat in the United Center, filling it 4 times over, and having all those people move away. But here's the crazy part. While Chicago's population dropped by 3%, the western suburbs are absolutely exploding. New retail developments, businesses, and home prices, they're skyrocketing as well as more and more people move out west. So what's really driving that? What's going on, you guys? I'm Blankenship, a Chicagoland realtor helping people just like you move in and around the Chicagoland area. Today we're going to break down exactly why this massive shift is happening, leading to people to leave Chicago and choose the western suburbs, and trust me, some of these reasons are going to surprise you. So let's just jump right into it. First, let me paint you a picture of what's really happening here in Chicago. According to the latest census data, Chicago's population fell to 2.66 million people. That's the lowest it's been in decades. But it's not just Chicago proper. Cook County suburbs actually lost even more residents than the city itself. I'm talking about 188,000 people, or 3.6% of their population. While you might listen to this and think it's concerning, if you drive to the western suburbs, it's pretty different. In fact, the western suburbs are seeing a major growth, with tons of new residents choosing places like Naperville or St. Charles and Geneva, as well as many others. And we will discuss everything about that, but first, let me tell you why people are leaving the big city, aka Chicago. Honestly, this is probably the biggest one I hear about every single day in my business, is that the taxes and the crazy cost of living in the city. Look, I'm just going to be super honest with you. Illinois has one of the highest tax burdens in the entire country. I mean, we're talking about the top 5. And when you're buying a home in Chicago proper, you're looking at a property tax rate of about 2.27%. And truthfully, this is exactly why we're seeing so many families make this move. When you can get more square feet, keep more of your money, and still have access to amazing amenities, it kind of becomes a no-brainer for a lot of people making that lateral movement from the city of Chicago to the western Chicago suburbs. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but Brandon, what about all the city amenities we'd be giving up? Don't worry, we're going to be covering all that later in this video, and you might be pretty surprised by what all these suburbs can actually offer. But first, let's talk about another huge reason why people are leaving the city of Chicago. Of course, schools in Chicago are rated well online, but compared to what we have in cities like Naperville and Glen Ellen, it doesn't even come close to when you just look at what the rankings say online. Naperville District 203 and District 204 are some of the highest rated schools in Illinois as well as the country, boasting 5 public high schools. But really, it's not just Naperville. Hinsdale Central is ranked the number 3 in all of Illinois with 25 advanced placement courses. And besides, the opportunity these kids are getting those schools are just mind-blowing. We're talking about STEM programs, partnering with major universities, performing arts centers that look like professional theaters, and sports facilities that might rival some colleges. And when you drive through these areas, you'll notice how almost every single elementary and middle school feeds into one of these top-rated high schools. So whether you got little ones or teenagers, you're getting access to some highly rated schools over here in the Chicago Western Suburbs. Now, speaking of differences, let's talk about everything that's completely changed how people think about where they live, and that's the remote work revolution. This reason is actually super important because it's literally changed everything about how these people choose where to live when it comes to either living in the city or the suburbs. I mean, look at this. Over 40% of Chicagoland professionals are still working from home, at least part-time. And when you don't have to commute downtown 5 days a week, that really changes the game on where you live. These western suburbs are a great place to call home, especially with the real estate here, getting more space for having dedicated home office setups. And I mean, instead of, trying to squeeze a desk into your city condo second bedroom, you can really get that dedicated office space, and maybe even 2 if you and your partner, work from home. And don't get me started on all the commute savings. If you're coming from downtown to a place like Naperville, that's easily 2 hours of your day back. That's 10 hours a week, 40 hours a month, and that's like getting an extra work week back in your life every single month. And truthfully, we're not even talking about a total disconnect from the city, honestly. When you do need to head into the office, you've got the Metro running express trains on the UPW line as well as the BNSF, and you can also be productive on your commute instead of sitting around in traffic while driving to the city of Chicago. And now that we've covered why people are leaving, let me show you exactly what they're getting when they move out here to the Chicago Western Suburbs. But first, let me know in the comments the reasons that would drive you to leave the city that you live in now. And if you're not completely sure about where in the Chicago suburbs you should live, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get new videos with everything you need to know about living here, and these videos will help you make the decision about where to live here in the Chicago Western Suburbs. So what are the main reasons why people choose to live in the suburbs? What are the advantages of making such a choice? Well, first, it's definitely about all the space and housing you'll be able to get. In Chicago, you're looking at right around $382 per square foot, but in Naperville, that drops to around $250. What does that mean in real terms? For the price of a 1,000 square foot condo, you should get a 1,500 square foot house in Naperville. And that's not just a little bit more space. That's enough space for a home office, bigger bedrooms, and typically a pretty decent sized yard. And when I say decent sized yard, I'm not talking about like a tiny patio that you might get in the city, but a lot of the homes here in the Chicago suburbs, you get real yards where you can entertain. And I'm talking about space for a pool, room for the kids to play, and maybe even a fire pit area for those summer nights. That's probably why the market trends out here are absolutely on the uprise right now. And in the luxury suburbs as well, is that we're seeing homes go under contract in less than a week, especially when they're priced right, often with multiple offers. And I can say pre-COVID as well, in certain suburbs, the luxury price point didn't really move that swiftly at all, and now it is. And here's what's interesting. I have been getting more reach outs from people planning to leave the state of Chicago more than ever from here on this YouTube channel as well as Instagram. Now, let me show you something that's even more impressive than the homes themselves. It's actually the incredible amenities that these communities have to offer. That's right, another major reason why people flee Chicago to the suburbs is to get out of the hustle and bustle of the city. While Chicago has a tremendous nightlife filled with bars and restaurants and places to go, it's just different from the suburban life, and truly, you can really still enjoy the best of both worlds, because I absolutely do. Take the parks and recreation areas, for example. We're not just talking about a basic playground like in the city. These communities have full-on water parks, tennis and pickleball complexes, and trails of green space to walk around with friends, family, or even the kids. And the community events, they're going to be bigger and better throughout the years. And I'm talking about summer concert series where they bring in artists, food and wine festivals that rival anything you'd find in the city, and seasonal markets that totally transform these downtown areas throughout the suburbs as a perfect weekend staple. Speaking of downtown areas, these are not just your typical suburban strips anymore. Places like St. Charles and Wheaton have gorgeous shopping districts with boutique, award-winning restaurants, and local businesses that have been here for generations. You've got places where you can grab a coffee from local roasters, walk to your meditation class, and then pick up fresh flowers from a local shop, all within a few blocks, especially if you live in that downtown suburb pocket. And the lifestyle change is super noticeable as soon as you get out here. Instead of dealing with city parking and crowds, you'll be able to get pretty convenient parking wherever you're at in the suburbs. Your kids can bike to their friends' houses, and you've got these amazing community centers where people actually hang out and connect also. Now, let me show you guys some specific suburbs where all of this comes together that you may want to have on your list. We talk about it all the time, but Naperville is a great example to point out. And what used to be a quiet suburb has transformed into this vibrant community that rivals any city neighborhood. Downtown Naperville alone has over 300 shops and restaurants, and the Riverwalk, which they call the crown jewel over here, stretches nearly 2 miles with these beautiful brick paths and covered bridges. And if you've never been here before, I feel like every single suburban person has a picture here also. And last year alone, more than 1.8 million people visited just that one attraction. And that's more visitors than many major tourist destinations get. And when the summer arrives, the Riverwalk comes alive with weekly concerts that draw thousands. Families bring picnic blankets, local restaurants set up food stands, and kids just run around playing while parents enjoy live music. It's the kind of community experience that gets harder to find these days. And these events typically happen all year round. Every season brings something new. Winter has holiday markets and ice skating. Spring brings garden walks and cultural festivities. Fall has harvest celebrations and Oktoberfest events also. And then you have spots like Geneva, Batavia, and St. Charles as well when you look a little more west, which gets you the best bang for your buck in terms of living very close proximity to a downtown area. A lot of my clients actually opt for the Tri-Cities when they don't need frequent access to the city of Chicago or even airports like O'Hare and Midway. And you have everything here from awesome downtown areas, the Fox River, and pretty much a huge array of real estate. From new construction to ranches to townhomes and to old historic homes when you get close to town. And now look, you guys, I'm always super transparent with you guys, and there are definitely some things you need to think about before making this move from the city of Chicago to the Western Chicago suburbs. So let's talk about what you might be giving up. And a lot of people ask me is that, Brandon, what about all those amazing restaurants and nightlife in Chicago? And yeah, you're not going to have 100 restaurants within walking distance anymore, unfortunately. But check this out, is that the Western suburbs have completely changed in the last few years. Downtown Naperville, we touched that over 300 restaurants and shops are over here. Places like Whedon are bringing new spots pretty frequently, and a lot of stuff new is happening out in the Bloomingdale area. And truthfully, when you can actually park right in front of the restaurant instead of circling for parking for 45 minutes, it's a pretty good game changer, truthfully. And transportation is another big one. And yeah, you're probably going to want a car out here, but these suburbs are getting super creative with how people get around. We've got Metro Express trains, incredible bike trail systems, and even any amenity that you need is in pretty close proximity. The cultural scene looks different too. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You won't have the art institutes down the street or easy access to a ton of theaters like you do in the city, but these communities are developing their own vibes. We've got outdoor concert series, art festivals, food truck nights, and they're building their own culture out here, and it's pretty amazing to see. So while there are definitely some trade-offs, what I'm seeing is that for a lot of families, the benefits of moving out here is that, the space, the schools, the savings outweigh what they're leaving behind in the city of Chicago. And you guys, the future of Chicago's western suburbs looks incredibly bright. Major infrastructure investments are planned across the region, and new businesses are moving in, and housing developments are continuing to dabble in. But what's really impressive is how these communities are growing thoughtfully, preserving what makes them special while embracing positive change. So if you're thinking about making a move to any of these incredible areas, whether it be next week or next year, I want to be your real estate agent. We help a ton of families every single year, and I am one of the top agents in all of the Chicago suburbs. Just email me or grab any of my information in the description to get started, and we'll help you find your next home and answer all your questions about relocating, buying or selling, or investing in the area. And before you go, if you enjoyed this video but want to learn more about the major developments coming to the western suburbs, then check out this video here. $6 billion in improvements are coming, you guys. And thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.